The UFC on Netflix? Is Dana White about to shake up the fight game again? The billion-dollar deal with ESPN is expiring, and all signs point to a massive shift in how we watch MMA. Let's rewind. The UFC's deal with ESPN kicked off in 2019, a $1.5 billion agreement that gave ESPN Plus exclusive rights to UFC content, including fight nights, pay-per-views, and shoulder programming. On paper, it seemed like a win-win. ESPN got consistent live sports content, and the UFC had a home on the biggest sports network in the world. But fast forward to 2025, and things aren't looking so great. The cracks in the relationship have been growing, but UFC 313 was the final straw. ESPN Plus suffered a massive technical meltdown, preventing fans from buying the event, causing outages, and in some cases, even double charging viewers. And let's just say, Dana White was not happy about it.
I haven't seen Celeste. I saw a lot of people complaining on X Twitter tonight they couldn't buy the pay-per-view. Did that make it to you? Do you know
yeah, it made it to me. They were having problems buying it on ESPN Plus. I don't know what happened with their platform tonight, but yeah, there were a lot of pissed off people.
Translation: this ESPN deal is cooked. UFC's exclusive negotiating window with ESPN is about to close, and for the first time in years, they're exploring other options. And the biggest player at the table? Netflix. So why Netflix? A few years ago, this wouldn't have even been a conversation. Netflix was strictly about movies, shows, and documentaries. But now, they're making serious moves in the live sports game. They locked in a $5 billion deal with WWE for Monday Night Raw, they broadcasted live NFL games on Christmas Day, and even dabbled in boxing with the Jake Paul vs. Mike Tyson fight. Now, they want a piece of the UFC, and honestly, it makes perfect sense. Here's why. Global reach. Netflix is in over 190 countries, giving the UFC a bigger worldwide audience. Better streaming tech, no more ESPN Plus meltdowns. Netflix has the infrastructure to handle massive live events. More casual fans. Netflix's algorithm could push MMA to millions of viewers who've never watched a UFC event before. Now here's the big question. How the hell would this work? Right now, UFC pay-per-views cost $79.99 through ESPN Plus, but Netflix doesn't do pay-per-views. Would UFC ditch PPVs entirely and go all in on a monthly subscription model? There are a few ways this could go down. 1. Hybrid model. Netflix includes UFC fight nights in the standard subscription, but pay-per-views stay separate. 2. Premium UFC tier. Think of it like Netflix Sports, a new package with exclusive fight content. 3. All-in on subscription. UFC content gets fully absorbed into Netflix, eliminating pay-per-views altogether. This last option is the most controversial because UFC fighters rely on pay-per-view points for their income. If pay-per-views disappear, how does fighter pay get affected? Would Netflix have to step in and offer big money incentives for champions and top stars? We're talking major financial restructuring. So what does this mean for you, the fight fan? There are some major pros and cons. Pros: no more ESPN Plus headaches, potentially cheaper access to fights, higher quality streaming, maybe even 4K. Cons: uncertainty around pay-per-views, possible price hikes on Netflix subscriptions, potential blackout restrictions in certain countries. There's also the question of whether Netflix can actually handle live UFC events. Remember, they had issues during the Tyson vs. Jake Paul fight, and even though their NFL games ran smoothly, a full UFC event is a different beast. This isn't just about the UFC. If this move happens, it could change the entire sports broadcasting landscape. Traditional networks like ESPN and Fox are struggling to keep up with streaming platforms. Amazon Prime already has exclusive NFL games, Apple TV is locking in global soccer rights, and if Netflix secures the UFC, it's game over for traditional sports TV. The UFC has always been ahead of the curve when it comes to media deals. They were the first major MMA promotion to embrace digital streaming with Fight Pass. They made a massive leap to ESPN, and now Netflix could be the next frontier. What do you think? Is Netflix the right move for the UFC, or is Dana White playing with fire? Will fans benefit, or will this shakeup make it harder to watch fights? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and if you want to stay updated on all things MMA, make sure to subscribe. This story is only getting started, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next.